Good evening. I'd like to call the April 2019 board meeting of the Lenore County Board of Education to order. And I would like to recognize Mr. Harvey for our invocation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. May the words spoken in this room tonight be beneficial to the students, parents, staff, and administrators in our school system. And may we be led by the guiding principle to always base our decisions on the best interests of our young people. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Everyone, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll recognize Superintendent Williams for our agenda tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, presented to you for your consideration and hopefully your approval is the agenda.
Move to approve the board agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Smith and a second by Mr. Davis. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the agenda, please raise your right hand. Thank you, gentlemen. And now, in lieu of the board chair comments, I'm going to defer to Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, we have the privilege and the honor of recognizing one of our own. Mr. Superintendent Brent Williams has completed and graduated the Next Generation Superintendent Development Program, Cohort 4.
I were going with that. This is a piece of the agenda I did not know.
This program supports the professional growth and transformative capacity of superintendents using the North Carolina Standards for Superintendents. The program is designed to guide superintendents as they reflect on and improve their effectiveness as district leaders. It also focuses on the personal leadership goals of the superintendent and links personal goals with the district and state goals, and guides and facilitates the professional development of the superintendent towards advanced levels of executive leadership as defined by the North Carolina Standards for Superintendents. We congratulate Superintendent Brent Williams on graduating Cohort 4. Please join me. Congratulations, sir. Thank you. I think your family is here. They'll come and join in the photo as well. Congratulations.
Started on three. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
You in the shadow.
One that is dark to the phone. You want one?
Thank you. You guys got me with that one.
Now, moving on, we will recognize Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a busy time of year in the school system. That is no secret. We have a bunch of teachers and students here tonight. It's no secret to them. Things are moving along at a fast and furious pace. We're in, as they say, I grew up in the country, we're in the short road now, and it's time for that last final push to hopefully a successful end of the school year that we've all planned and worked so hard to achieve. We've had some exciting recent events that I certainly want to mention to you. TSA kids will be recognized here tonight. We're very proud of them. We had some last month, and we have the others here tonight, South Lenore High School students, and we're really, really excited about TSA and what's going on in our school system. Science Olympiad was recently held, and our school system, as I referenced last month, has been dominant in Science Olympiad. Science Fair, we have 2 Science Fair students who placed at the state level here with us tonight at NC State. That was held last week. We're just so proud of them as well. Our all-county band performance was held. It was a wonderful event 2 Saturdays ago, and last week we had the all-county chorus. So 2 back-to-back Saturdays of showcase opportunities for our kids, showing what our performing arts programs and our students are doing, and we couldn't be any more excited and proud of them. So congratulations to all of our choral music students, all of our musicians, all of our junior budding scientists, and all of our teachers who are working so hard with them every day. We're so proud of you. Our Teacher of the Year and Employee of the Year banquet was held last week, and certainly want to commend our new Teacher of the Year for the upcoming year, Ms. Jennifer Sutton of LaGrange Elementary School. Very proud of her, and I know her family there, the Wildcats, they're proud of her as well. And I want to commend Ms. Deron Davis, our Teacher Assistant of the Year. She does an outstanding job year in and year out for us, and we're very proud of Mrs. Davis as well. And Mr. Suggs, our support staff member, support staff employee of the year, custodian at Rochelle Middle School, does an outstanding job. So congratulations to all these employees. Our bus rodeo was held. Congratulations to Mr. Anthony Mitchell, our transportation director, and his team. They did an outstanding job, and we're moving on to the regionals. And Mr. Mitchell told me just today we've got high hopes for great success at the regionals with the bus rodeo. We're continuing to push with our grant applications, and we currently have more than 3 significant grants that are in the works, and next week we have a significant meeting on the next phase of one of the major grants that we're applying for a career academy. We're very pleased with that. Our regional STEM event was last week. You're going to see a presentation on that tonight, but it was a great success in Greenville, and we had not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 teams of students there presenting about innovation in science education and LCPS. Very proud of them. Our partnership with Crown Corporation, and this is just in its infancy, but you're going to see a report on the progress of that tonight. We're excited about that. We had a big meeting about that last week as well. Our schools, again, are moving on. I want to encourage all of our staff members, our principals, our teachers, teacher assistants, bus drivers, custodians, cafeteria workers, everybody on the team, keep pushing, keep working hard, because your efforts are making a tremendous difference, and you are a significant part of the team. Mr. Chairman and board members, it's my pleasure tonight to recognize several students, and I'll ask for our board chair and vice chair for your assistance in this process. First, our Technology Student Association students from South Lenoir High School. They brought home awards from the regional competition in Goldsboro in February. The winners and representatives were. And students, what I'll ask you to do is come forward, and if you'll line them up here, we'll call the name and we'll clap for them. If their parents are here, parents or guardians or other loved ones, if you'll stand when your student's name is called, we certainly want to applaud you too, because we know you're part of that collective effort. And then line up here and we'll present certificates and then take a group photo, okay? All right, first, Ashton Heath, first place, future technology teacher. Ashton? Is Ashton here? Okay, Matthew Turner, first place, transportation modeling. Brian Martinez Gonzalez, first place, children's stories. Is Brian here? Ashton Williams, second place, flight endurance. Brandon Rodriguez, second place, architectural design. Marco Resendez, second place, architectural design. Parker White, second place, structural design and engineering. Callie Eason, second place, structural design and engineering. Heshun Zhang, third place, dragster design. Other representatives from South Lenore were Matthew Heath, Lydia Walston, and Seth Baker. Technology Bowl, Dakota Burke, Flight Endurance. Dakota Burke, Flight Endurance. And Ms. Gwen McKinney is the club's advisor. Ms. McKinney, if you're here, we'd like for you to come forward too, please. Let's give her a round of applause. Also, Ms. Boney, if you're here. Okay. All right. And Mr. St. Amand, are you here with all the students? Okay, Matthew. Matthew Turner. Ashton Wilson. Brandon Rodriguez. Callie. Next, we have Austin Williams of Frank Middle School won second place in the North Carolina Science and Engineering Fair with a nomination to take his project to the national competition in Washington, D.C. in October. Austin competed in the middle school engineering and technology category with a project that tests soundproofing materials. Let's give Austin a round of applause. Christian Wiggins of Christian Wiggins of Northwest Elementary School brought home an honorable mention award from the State Science Fair, the same State Science Fair, NC Science and Engineering Fair on the campus of NC State for his project on buoyancy. Let's give Christian a round of applause. We're so proud of these two state winners. Guys, you need to give us a lesson in some science, right?
One through. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Great.
Three students from Pink Hill Elementary School are regional winners in the Area 6 Soil Conservation Poster Contest and have qualified to compete in statewide competition. Winning first place in grade level competition were Carly Hill, 5th grade. Let's give Carly a round of applause. Carly was unable to be here tonight, okay. Braylon Kennedy, 4th grade. Is Braylon here? If Braylon's parents are here, please stand up. Okay, and Benitez Miranda, 3rd grade. Proud of these guys. third grade.
Right.
Certificate. There you go.
Good job.
Okay, on three. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Right.
Congratulations to 3 of our dedicated school bus drivers who finished on top in the 2019 LCPS School Bus Rodeo, a test of driving skills that drew 22 competitors from across our district. First place went to Elaine Harper of Banks Elementary School, second place to Thelonious Ford of Kinston High School, and third place to Cindy Jones of Pink Hill Elementary School. First and second place finishers qualify for regional competition and a chance to compete at the state level in June. Let's give them a round of applause. Now, ladies, I told the children we needed some lessons on that. What we really need, since we need bus drivers so much, you got a whole room full of adults right here who could use a lesson on driving those buses, right? Ladies, we appreciate our bus drivers so much, not just for winning the competition, but for what you do with those children every day. Your face is the first one they see from the school system and the last one in the afternoons, and we know that it's always a positive one, so thank you for that. Tonight, we would like to recognize one of our very own, Mrs. Sharon James Bazell, on being elected as the North Carolina Association of Educational Office Professionals President. Mrs. Bazell has dedicated herself to professionalism and lifelong learning opportunities. Since becoming a member of the NCAEOP, Mrs. Bazell has served as president of Lenoir County Schools Association of Educational Office Professionals, president of District 12 NCAEOP, and vice president and president-elect of NCAEOP. She has served on the local, district, and state levels in almost all of the associations of which she is a member. Mrs. Bazell holds the professional level of PSP certification and is also a member of the National Association of EOP. Again, let us congratulate Mrs. Bazell for being elected president of the North Carolina Association of Educational Office Professionals. Before we recognize her, let me tell you, we attended, Mr. Harvey and Mrs. Heath and I attended the luncheon and the banquet in Winston-Salem, and it was a wonderful event. It was very well attended. People from all over the state were there. Lenoir County is leading the way in NCAEOP, and we have strong leadership in other offices there, but Mrs. Bazell is president for the whole state. We're very proud of you, Ms. Bazell. Ms. Bazell, anything that you would like to say to the group as president? She had a very good acceptance address in Winston-Salem. But anything you would like to say briefly to that?
I just solicit your prayers as I step into a role as president of the association, that all the things that we said will be in the purpose and the good, and be in the best interest of the organization for all members.
All right, on three. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Great, thanks.
Lenore County Public Schools was awarded a grant for science kits from the Center for Inquiry-Based Learning with Duke Energy Foundation funding. CIBL will be providing professional development kits worth $500 for all of our 6th and 7th grade science teachers next year. The titles are 6th grade, Energy Waves, and 7th grade, Machines, Energy, Forces in Motion. So congratulations to all of our folks who are working on those grant applications, and we're continuing to push for every single grant that we can secure to improve instruction in our classrooms. We hope that you will be able to join the Lenore County Board of Education, Kinston High School, and the Ronnie Battle family as they remember the legacy of Coach Ronnie J. Battle during the baseball field dedication ceremony on Saturday, May 4th, 2019 at 4 p.m. at Kinston High School baseball field. We hope you'll be able to make it for that important event. There are some events leading up to that, some fundraiser and recognition events. Coach Battle was a dear member of Lenore County Public Schools family, teaching family, and coaching family, and a legend in Lenore County athletics, and a great coach and an even better human being. So we certainly celebrate Coach Battle, his legacy, all that he meant to the young people of this area, and that he will continue to mean to this area as those that he impacted continue to pay forward his legacy and his blessings. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Okay. All right, we will move to our presentation portion of the agenda, and I'll recognize Mrs. Herring for our Digital Learning Student Showcase.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board. As part of our ongoing digital initiative, we have 2 schools this evening that will present to showcase their use of digital learning. Our first school this evening is LaGrange Elementary School. Digital learning specialist, Mrs. Alicia Davis, 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Smith, and 5th grade students, Deja Cannon and Kamaya Parker, will be presenting an Ozobot human body activity. Students were assigned a human body system, and with a partner, they had to outline the path that the BIT, an Ozobot robot, would take to illustrate the function of the human body system. Students were required to identify the major parts of the system, what BIT represented, and summarize BIT's function as it traveled through the body system. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Alicia Davis. I'm the digital learning specialist. And just a real quick peek, this is what the Ozobot is. It's a small robot that can either code with a marker, so they learn how to code very quickly that day, or you can actually take it even farther and code with the iPad. We did not use that in our activity, but we did use the marker coding. For this activity, I have one of the best risk takers at our school, Miss Smith. Whenever I try something new, she's my first teacher to go to. This was something I received through a grant, and we have 8 of those in our classroom, and we went ahead and collaborated together. She's going to explain the activity that we did.
Fantastic. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm a 5th grade teacher, and one of our units of study is human body systems, and not only how those systems work independently, but how they are interconnected with each other. And so it just seemed like a really fun way as a culminating activity to have kids continue to engage with what they were learning. It was so much fun. And just as a side note, it's really neat to watch students as they take their own risks and problem solve and manage things out. So these 2 beautiful girls are going to tell you a little bit more about the specifics of it.
Hello, my name is Deja and this is Maya. And today we're going to be showing you the Ozobot project over the digestive system. So the first thing we did was discuss the key body parts. Then we had to describe its functions. And then we coded BIT to follow the path of one of those functions. The coding requirements we had to use were identifying the body parts, which are nose, mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and then poops.
What was it?
Fun of it.
Your wish.
We also had to draw patterns and colors to identify the functions those body parts play in the body system. Then we allowed BIT to travel through the body system, and BIT's role that it played was a group. Then Ms. Davis videotape this while we explain the functions of each body part. We also decided to use her project because we noticed in my group a little coding bug, which we put the lines too close together.
So you said they're demonstrate? All right, so for those of you that can't see it, bit is very, very tiny. That's why it's called bit. And if you want to describe what he's doing as he goes through. Okay, go ahead.
So first bit went into the mouth, and now since we used it a tornado, because in the mouth when you're eating the food, like it like switches in your mouth and stuff, so you use a tornado to like describe it. And now bit is going to the esophagus. From the esophagus, it's going to go into the stomach. And we just come on, bit.
Whoops.
So we decided to use the slow down because in the stomach it takes a little while to process the food to break down into nutrients. And then he enters the small intestines, which will go into the large intestines. And still going on very slow.
He's really going slow there.
He's digesting slowly.
It's a process.
And then bit gets down, and we decided to use the fast process because when you got to go, you gotta go.
Ladies, you did a great job. Thank you to you and your teachers. Do board members, do you have any questions for these young ladies? Very good. How do you think the coding helped you to create this project and understand the body systems through doing that?
Well, I think that the coding is showing us a good example of how the body system works
By mapping it out?
by mapping it out.
And for everyone else here, this is an example of our elementary coding curriculum that we've implemented. And you know our goal by next year is to be pre-K-12. So proud of these young people and the learning that you're seeing on display tonight. So congratulations. Great stuff.
Thank you so much. For North Lenore High School, the digital learning specialist, Ms. Elizabeth Thompson, English teacher Reginald Dawson, and students Abigail Ormond, Kennedy Santes, Frederick Milk, Sadie Carlisle, Gavin Sexton, and Jackson Moore represent North Lenore High School in tonight's Digital Learning Showcase. North Lenore High School continues to promote integration of technology into all content areas. One area of growth has been providing students access to help with technology projects and activities divided by the DLS. Tonight's presentation showcases a scholarship video that was created through collaboration between Abigail Ormond and Mrs. Thompson. Students have also been exploring formats for creative presentations. Students in Mr. Dawson's English 3 honors class, in collaboration with Mrs. Thompson, were given the opportunity to explore techniques utilizing features in Keynote to present presentations. Additionally, students in Mrs. Hawkins' AP Computer Science class have been exploring app creation. Ms. Thompson, thank you.
Hi, everyone. Hi, guys. Come on up.
I'm sorry if I mispronounced someone's name. Sorry.
There might have been one.
I'm afraid I did.
This year, digital learning has really grown by leaps and bounds at North Lenore High School, and it's not only from my job, it's from my teachers and from my students. Our students are latching on to anything that's technology-based, and if you give them a snippet of something, they're going bounds beyond whatever we expected. Last year, my goal was to really work closely with my teachers and establish my footing at North Lenore. This year, I saw the opportunity. If I was able to help the teachers as much, what if I offered my services to my students? So as a DLS, I don't have students individually assigned to me, but instead all 900 of them belong to me. So this year I really encourage, if you need help, email me. I'll make time, just like I do for teachers, and we'll schedule and we'll meet together and work on it. Abigail was my first one that we've really sat down and correlated schedules to meet and to fulfill a project that she needed for an outside opportunity. So Abigail, would you like to tell them what you created with me?
Sure. We created a 2-minute video to send to East Carolina's Honors College, and it was for the EC Scholars Program. And basically in the video, I talk about things that I do and why I want to go to ECU and be a scholar.
Now, through this, Abigail and myself, we learned a lot of things. We learned how to export just the sound out of a video, which was something neither one of us had ever done. We had to figure out how to meet certain time parameters. We also had to learn how to make it on YouTube where nobody could make comments, but the university would be able to see it without any issues. So it was a learning process that we met several times to get this completed. I'm going to show a few minutes of it. The sound quality is...
I'm a senior at North High School. I'm about to show you some of my things to do in order to help you get to know me better. Let's go. I've spent countless hours over the past 4 years playing sports, either practicing with one of my teams, playing a match, or teaching a tennis clinic. Whenever I am teaching a tennis clinic, I work on basic skills with the kids, such as forehands, backhands, and footwork. We do practice drills and play fun tennis games. As one of the main instructors, I often design the practice drills for the clinics and help the other instructors know what to teach that day. Teaching tennis has helped me become a better leader on and off the court, because I have had to learn to balance fun with discipline in order to get the most accomplished. Teaching tennis is one of my favorite things to do because I love helping kids become great tennis players. But most importantly, I love to see them having fun doing something that I love so much. Now, from the court to the classroom. I've always loved to read, and this summer I discovered my passion for writing at North Carolina Governor's School, where I studied English. One of my favorite activities is tutoring elementary school students in reading and writing because I get to show them that reading is fun. Thank you for watching my video. I hope to be the future of East Carolina University and to use the resources that the EC Scholars Program offers to continue to serve my community. Go Pirates!
Okay, Abigail, from this video, you were...
I was not chosen as an EC Scholar, but this video did help me become a Chancellor's Fellow, which is full tuition.
Not that one. Okay, the next item that we're going to show tonight is from Mr. Dawson's English 3 class, English 3 honors class. Mr. Dawson is always the teacher that's on board. When I go to any trainings, when I come back, I say, Dawson, I've learned this. Will you let me have your class? And he has always been more than willing. Tonight we have 2 students, Miss Kennedy Santes and Frederic Milky, to help us present. Frederic is actually our foreign exchange student. So coming forward, this is Kennedy. This is a technique and a concept that we learned in Apple training this year. And as soon as we got back, Mr. Dawson and I immediately started planning for how we could incorporate this into his Scarlet Letter unit. Oh, you're loud, so this will probably be really loud. Oh.
I'll show you a picture of the scaffold on which she stood on. I put a gavel, but it's on the Bible because that is how the Puritans judged the community. The last picture is showing everyone pointing to the one person blaming only that person. Because even though Hester did commit adultery, she had to commit it with someone.
Okay. Kennedy, would you like to tell them anything about this project?
Mr. Dawson's classroom. She's come a couple different times where she showed us different things to use throughout Keynote, and it hasn't only helped me in just Mr. Dawson's class, but also when I've had previous projects in like my biology class or like something else whenever I've had to do something.
Okay. The next one is Frederick's. Okay. Today we spent some time talking about the education system in the United States versus the education system in Germany. From this, I learned one interesting fact.
Yeah, we don't have iPads or anything like that at our school. We only have like 4 rooms with computers in there, so we don't have the ability to just like look something up during class or do these presentations. We just do normal, boring classes. And once I came here and like after spending 8 months here and visiting the North Lenore High School, these iPads are really helpful. Like you can do homework with it, assignments, and it's really fun to work with them during class. So it's a good thing.
Freddie's always the kid that we can expect something entertaining out of his presentation. So as you can see, warning, this presentation contains a German accent.
The reveal sin.
And then he goes into his presentation for Mr. Dawson. So, very good opportunity for students that not only are North Lenore students, but students who are coming to us from different areas. The next group I want to showcase is a new course that we are teaching this year, which is AP Computer Science. It's a new AP that we've brought to North Lenore. One of the interesting things about this course is that we have a visiting student from South Lenore who has joined us to take this class. Our AP Computer Science students are making some really unique apps and going through the entire coding process. And tonight, Abigail, Sadie, and Gavin, they're going to show you one of the projects that they worked together, but there was certain components they had to meet.
Yes, so in our AP Computer Science class, we use a website called code.org, and code is usually where we do all of our assignments and assessments, and it also offers videos to show us how to do things if we get stuck.
So the 3 of us worked together to create what we call a digital scene, and in order to create the picture, we each had to code something and then combine it to make one picture. Then we each had to take something and make it our own. So for example, I created the sun of our picture.
I'll click it.
Okay. Created the sun, and then I added some sun rays to mine, which they don't have on theirs, to make mine kind of unique.
So this is Abigail's. Then this one's Sadie's.
Yes, I added in the starfish to my photo.
And then Gavin's.
In mine, I did the background of water, and that little dot off to the side is my island.
Over here. So as you can see, they're using the same platform and they're working together, but there are certain components that they have to branch out and do their own little creative part. The thing I really like about the AP Computer Science class is that it's really letting students branch out into their own world of creation. As long as they meet the parameters, they get to pick their topics. Now, the next one that was made, this is from Jackson Moore. Jackson doesn't really like to talk in public, but he's going to. Okay. He made this really neat app. Okay. So, tell him what it's based on.
So this is a little short game I made based around Sonic, and I used code.org like they do. And it's just a couple screens, but you go through the game and start it. And there's a character here, and whenever you turn the mouse over him, there's music, but sometimes so you try to click on him, and he tries to move away from you. If you miss him, you get a game over screen.
That's hard.
There you go. And then now we have a little quiz where it'll ask you a question, and if you get it right, it'll take you to do the win screen.
So Jackson spent a lot of time on this because it codes and reverts back to different sections, will let you move forward at different points, and these guys just started coding in January because they weren't the younger kids that we had that have gone through the STEM coding program. So they have done an amazing job. I like to stop by if I'm having a bad day and spend fourth period with them and see what they've created because it's always a highlight of the day. So we thank you for your time and we hope that you.
Click on the view code so they can see
Oh.
what the actual work behind what you see.
This is what Jackson had to do to actually create this.
That's the code. That's the code.
Click show touch. And then this one breaks it up so it looks a little bit better. Or this is more like old school coding. If you do the blocks, this is more, I want to say kid friendly, where they can see the color coding and it separates it for them. So this code program allows them to kind of see it in a, I want to say almost like a kid version of it, but then it also takes it over to the real coding side of it. So they get to see both. And you guys have choice of which one you want to use, correct? Yeah, Ms. Hawkins allows them to pick if they want to code the direct style or if they want the code with the color coding. So it's very, she's been very adaptable to different learning styles as well. Okay, thank you guys so much.
Great job, guys.
All right, we'll stay with Mrs. Herring, and we'll move on to the E2 Regional STEM Summit summary.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Oh, there he goes.
Little kids weren't nervous.
On Thursday, April 4th, students from North Lenore High School and LaGrange Elementary School presented STEM projects and activities at the 2019 E2 Educators to Employers Summit and the NC East Alliance State of the Region event. Districts from across the Southeast and Northeast region were invited to send 3 or 4 student teams to demonstrate programs that promote STEM, STEM careers, or workforce preparation. LaGrange Elementary School's digital learning specialist, Ms. Alicia Davis, who you've met earlier this evening, and teacher Georgia Tingen brought students from the LaGrange Coding Club and the LaGrange STEAM Club. LaGrange Elementary students, Layla Wenzel, Marissa Doyle, Ruby Johnson, Raylan Grant, Alyssa Smith, and Fawn Creech, demonstrated how the Coding Club explores the world of coding through the use of Ozobots, which you got to see this evening. Coding Club students utilized provided symbols to code robots using lines of code or Ozoblocky. You all saw the lines earlier. And the Ozoblocky is a drag and drop program. In the Coding Club, students worked collaboratively to find solutions to problems or create stories or mazes. The students also presented the activities of the STEAM Club. The STEAM Club is an after-school program that focuses on solving STEM-related problems using the engineering design process. Students involved in this club also study and create projects for the North Carolina Science Olympiad events. North Lenore High School Project Lead the Way biomedical students, under the direction of teacher Dr. Thomas Schwartz, demonstrated how the intensive study of body systems can provide a great deal of information to a scientist. North Lenore High School students Adriana Gaona and Christina Mendoza Ventura demonstrated how labeling, examining, and measuring bones and skeletal features helps the observer learn the height, gender, and age of the bones. Students Blythe Jackson and Melanie Carasquillo demonstrated how to explore the brain and nervous system through labeling, modeling, and dissection. Students and teachers earlier in the day enjoyed a luncheon and a keynote speaker, Mr. Stephen Turnipseed. Mr. Turnipseed is the EVP and Chief Strategy Officer of Kitsco Education, former president of LEGO Education North America, and is the past chairman of the Partnership for 21st Century Learning. Mr. Turnipseed's address was entitled Workforce 2030, Building the Pipeline. The event was attended by multiple school districts all over the Southeast and Northeast region, elected officials, and business and industry representatives from across the region. It goes without saying that Lenore County was very well represented at the E2 Summit last week. That's the end of my report. Any questions?
Thank you, Mrs. Herring. Any questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll recognize Mrs. Jones for our Crown Manufacturing Partnership Initiative.
Okay, good evening.
Evening.
Thank you. I know there's a basketball game tonight. I am happy to present to you the progress that we are making towards finalizing our partnership with the Crown Equipment Corporation. This journey began last year at a Manufacturers Association meeting when I presented our LCPS CTE programs and asked for volunteers to serve on our Business Advisory Council. Crown stepped up and our partnership has grown from there. Currently, as you've seen at my multiple presentations, CTE students have many opportunities for work-based learning, but we are missing a very important piece. We're missing that deep partnership with job and on-the-job training and educational training that a youth apprenticeship program can provide. And you can see those are all the things that we currently take advantage of at this point. And so, as I mentioned before, this grew out of our Business Advisory Committee, and we've made it our goal to provide students with enhanced work-based learning opportunities that carry them beyond job shadowing and one-semester internships. We want our students positioned for careers. Crown Enterprises' goal is to engage with the school system and to help prepare students for the workforce. Crown wants students ready for work in the community. The partnership benefits everyone. So what are apprenticeships and how does it fit with our goals and mission? There's a large umbrella. We call all of the apprenticeships pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship youth apprenticeship programs. So I'm going to sort of highlight the difference between each. But as a general overview, youth apprenticeship programs are developed jointly by industry partners, the K-12 system, the local community college, and college partners. We have been interested in doing this for a while, but we have been waiting and waiting for an industry to step up and say that they were interested in doing this with us, and Crown did fit that bill. The programs have to be written and registered by a regional apprenticeship MC consultant. We're working with Danny Boykin from the North Carolina Community College System to accomplish that. Apprentices in registered apprenticeship programs will receive state and national credentials. So what is the difference between an apprenticeship and a pre-apprenticeship program? Apprenticeship programs and pre-apprenticeships are for students who are 16 and adults, young adults who are 16 to 24 years of age. Apprenticeship complies with guidelines established by the school and employer, so does a pre-apprenticeship. Apprenticeships commit to a long-term occupational and educational program, so they fall into a pathway that they commit to seeing through to the end of that educational program. Apprentices assume the dual role of employee and student, and they have to obtain a work permit when they're under 18. They have to maintain satisfactory performance in the work-based and school-based environment. And they are paid on a progressive wage scale, which is at least 50% of a journeyman's salary scale. And as they improve, they get pay increases throughout their apprenticeship. Currently, we're looking somewhere for our pre-apprentice and apprenticeships in the $10 to $12 an hour range, which is pretty decent for a high school kid. Pre-apprentices have more flexibility in work hours. The program actually begins in the summer, and apprenticeship can as well, but apprenticeships can turn over at any point in the year. But since pre-apprentices are typically younger, we like to start that in the summer so they get a summer experience. They are eligible to continue into an apprenticeship, but they do not have to commit to the apprenticeship. So it's a great way for somebody to try something on without the full commitment of the apprenticeship program. Again, they have to maintain satisfactory performance in the work-based and school-based environment. And as with the apprentice, they're eligible for the community college tuition waiver. So even though they take CCP classes with us throughout their high school years, if they continue beyond high school, then they are still eligible for that tuition waiver through the community college, so it's a free education for them. So after several meetings with the leadership of the Kinston Crown plant, we both decided that we are excited about the possibilities, but we definitely needed more information about what could be done. Crown of Newcastle, Indiana has a strong partnership with their local school system, and it's already established. Crown of Kinston invited the leadership from Indiana to meet with us to showcase their program. So we met last Thursday at North Lenore High School to share our story and to hear theirs. The North Lenore High School food students prepared a wonderful breakfast for our guests, and then Mr. Williams, Mrs. Herring, and I shared the recent journey of our school system because we wanted to put some context around what we were asking for. And as you can see, our CTE teachers and students were ready to share all of the career readiness skills they're gaining in their classes. So we showed them the automotive class, principles of family and human services, our ag department, masonry, which they didn't have in their academy in Indiana, so they were real interested in bringing that back home to show them what we were doing with masonry. In the upper right corner, that's the North Lenoir, they're using the plasma cutter, the metal laser cutter in the ag classrooms. And then down here, the executive from Crown actually used to teach multimedia design, which is what Miss Sutton at North Lenoir teaches, and so they've already made a plan for him to come back and talk to her class. So then we actually did the tour after the Crown presentation, but I just wanted to show you that. Rosemary Jones, from the Human Resources Director from the Kinston Crown facility, introduced our guests from Newcastle, Indiana. And they are, it's a really small picture, but they're in the upper right-hand corner. It was their Human Resources Director and one of their plant managers. And one of the slides that I really loved, and it's hard to take pictures of other people's presentations, but they do a signing day, which we'll talk about in a little bit, for their students that go into a full-time job. This was really interesting to us. From Indiana, they did some research, and if you look across, the top of every tile is the Newcastle, Indiana number, and the bottom of every tile is the Kinston, North Carolina number. And it was just really shocking and surprising to me how similar our two communities are. Additionally, the median household income in both cities is about $18,000 below the median household income in the state. And the point for all of us was, if it can work in Indiana and that town, it can certainly work here as well. So what are they doing in Indiana? They sort of had a similar story. It started through an advisory council. The folks from the Crown plant did some school visits. They decided to donate some equipment. Our folks from Crown have donated some equipment to us. And then they started doing plant tours so that our teachers and students could see a little bit more of what was being done at that facility. The academy they have in Indiana found themselves without an instructor, and so the gentleman that was from Crown stepped up and started going 2 days a week to help with those classes while they had a substitute and were trying to fill that position. He never left. They found somebody to fill the position, but he still goes. And after they started doing that, they implemented the internship program, which really is our apprentice and pre-apprentice program. It's the same idea, it's just called a little something different. Then they started doing signing days. When they selected students to go into their apprentice and pre-apprentice programs, they did like an athletic signing day or a college signing day. They did a Crown signing day. They actually have several industries that participate now. It's grown to a pretty big event. And then they really wowed us at the end with some elementary partnership things that they're doing around robotics, where they sponsor some robotics clubs in the school district as well. And the engineers go and work with the kids on their designs and help them improve and give them some ideas. So what are our next steps? Our next steps are to register the apprenticeship with LCC. We are well on our way to doing that. There are 3 areas that we're going to register the apprenticeship in. Maintenance, computer integrated machining, and engineering are the 3 areas of focus for this particular partnership. And we're going to finalize the details of our apprenticeship. We have to put the apprenticeship in place before we can move into the pre-apprenticeship, so that's a really important piece of it. We have to decide what kind of hours students will work, what kind of classes they take, the wages, and then what are their assignments. The industry has to decide on what are their assignments that they do while they're involved with that apprenticeship. We're also working on developing a student application and working on recruiting potential students. Once we get the application in place, then we can work on our recruitment for the potential students for the program. Then we have to market the program with student and parent information sessions and plant tours. We certainly want parents and students to see what they're getting into. And then after we do all of that, we'll select some students to begin, and then we want to have our own signing day for our students when they get into the apprenticeship program with Crown. So the desired outcomes for all of this, the apprenticeship process will help streamline the events that lead to productive employment for our students as they become adults. The top part of the arrow is the student path, and the bottom part of the arrow is the traditional adult path. If we can get through the low-skilled and semi-skilled jobs while students are in school, they will be better positioned for better pay when they exit their educational programs. So you can see how that stacks up. If they start the pre-apprenticeship as a 16-year-old, that's when they handle those low-skilled jobs. And as they gain those skills, then they move into semi-skilled and middle-skilled. The folks from Indiana actually told us that their students are so good that once they have worked under their mentor for a little while, then they actually start helping to train the new employees that come in. And they found that to be really a worthwhile program. So when they come out of that apprenticeship program, they can start in the middle to advanced skilled jobs instead of starting at the very bottom of the totem pole. So the desired outcomes for us: paid youth apprenticeships for students, real jobs that they can work on in the summer. They can work, if they choose to, they can work over Christmas break. They can work during the school day and then come to class in the afternoon, or work in the afternoon and go to class in the morning. We want on-the-job training in conjunction with coursework. We want our students to become leaders. We want them to learn how to present themselves, how to be on a job, how to be accountable to an employer. We want students to earn credentials that carry them not just to Crown, but to any other industry that they want to work in. We want to expand the apprenticeship program to multiple businesses and industries, and I think once this gets off the ground that we will be successful in that as well. And certainly we want jobs for students. We want them to come out of high school with a job, or with the training and the apprenticeship program that leads them to a very good job. Crown has been very clear they want a skilled workforce. They need one. They don't hire a ton of people every year, but they need them consistently. They want to recruit talent early so that they have their foot in the door with the students. They really want to be engaged in the K-12 school system. They have said that time and again at our advisory council meetings. They want positive outcomes for the community that we all serve. And they certainly want jobs, real jobs, for the apprentice employees when they get out of the apprenticeship program. And then the last slide I have is this is the link to the Apprenticeship NC site if you're interested in more information, and also the North Carolina Youth Apprenticeship Guide. It's a very lengthy document, but it's a very good document. It sort of details all of the things that we have to do to put this in place. But we're on our way.
Ms. Jones, we need to stress that, and you already said this, but I'll highlight it again, that this partnership is unique. Many districts around North Carolina and beyond have apprenticeship programs, either with the world of business and manufacturing directly, or in collaboration with the community college system. But what's unique about ours is we have all those elements that they do, but ours is with a business and industry partner, Crown Manufacturing, saying we will recognize not that your student has a career certificate, not that they're qualified for a job, but they will have an actual job. Not a paid internship alone, that's great, but the next step, if they fulfill the criteria listed here, they will have a job. Minimum salary now, that's subject to change, but the lowest paying entry level job that they have is about $17 per hour range, and it goes up dramatically from there. And they talked about kids who do well, they actually pay for further education as needed, or that they certainly are willing to consider that. So that's great. We're the only school system in the southeast region working towards such a partnership right now. Almost all of them have apprenticeships of some kind, but this one is unique in one very important respect, and we're one of, I think, 4 districts in the state that are looking at that end game of having the promise of a job. So I'm excited about that.
Me too. Do you have any questions I can answer for you?
Ms. Jones, I just have a quick question or a clarifying point. This is available to all 3 of our high schools, even though we were at North and North this particular
That's
day.
right, yes.
Students at all 3 high schools.
Well, this was the most recent visit. We also, prior to this team visited Kinston High School, and South Lenore High School was the first stop on the tour. So this was the 3rd visit of the 3 high schools, yes. The only thing that made this one different is the executives from Crown Manufacturing in Indiana flew in for the day, and they said they could be here for this day and this time, and
so that's when we did it.
Scheduled that tour.
And the leadership at the Crown plant in Kinston said since they had been to South Lenore and Kinston High School, they would love to see North Lenore, which is why we visited at that site. But the application process is open across the district. You know, we have a version of manufacturing available to students at every single high school, so all of them have opportunities to complete this type of program through our CCP classes at our high schools. So
and we wondered about scale. How many students could they really accommodate? Do they have 2 jobs, 3 jobs? They are willing to sign an agreement saying that if they can't place a student in their manufacturing facility, that they will place this student in another Eastern North Carolina partner manufacturer's facility, or one of their own factories out of state if the student so chooses. So that's significant.
Any other?
Very few guarantees in the job world, but that's a guarantee.
This is very true.
Do you see us getting involved with other facilities in the foreseeable future?
I would like to, certainly, I think that once we do this, and Rosemary and I talked about this as well, once this gets off the ground, we'd like to go back to the Manufacturers Association and present our partnership and show them what we're able to do with Crown, and then hopefully we'll be able to bring some others on board. Also, at a meeting I went to Friday, they are doing a statewide pre-apprentice and apprenticeship program for health sciences for nursing so that students can work on their LPN and RN as well through an apprenticeship program, and we're definitely well positioned for that. So I think that there's a lot of opportunities here. Also small businesses. I mean, we don't want to discount our insurance agencies and places that might be willing to take on a student apprentice.
Well, this is part of our overall focus on a career academy and focusing on the different careers, and we're seeking grants to help flesh that out and be a resource for it as well.
Any other questions I can answer for you? All right.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
You're welcome.
Our next item is, I guess, a first presentation on policy revisions. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The North Carolina School Boards Association has submitted policy revisions through the Policies to Lead the Schools subscription in response to recent legislation and legislative action. The policies are submitted for board study tonight with action to be taken at a subsequent meeting.
Hope everybody will read those before our next meeting. Look forward to approving those. Next item is our financial report. Mr. Adams has sat patiently.
Thank you. Good morning, or good evening. The March financial report summarizes budget and year-to-date activity as of March 31st, 2019. Additionally, the report presents the local current expense fund balance as of March 31st as well. I'll give you an opportunity to review the report and answer any questions.
Can you explain your net loss?
The
$15,000 difference.
I'm sorry.
The $15,000 difference.
So that's the difference in revenues and expenditures year to date as of March 31st. That is.
But that's not typical, is it?
It fluctuates. Depending on timing of the revenues and expenditures. I think last month the loss was substantially more than that. However, just due to timing on the revenues, it changes from year to year.
But you can't identify which code that is.
It's Fund 2, but specific program report codes I cannot. For purpose function, I can get that information.
It's just noticeable.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to our action portion of our agenda. I'll recognize Mrs. Herring for our LCPS 2019-20 instructional calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board. Presented to you all tonight for your consideration is the traditional school calendar for the upcoming school year 2019-2020. You'll notice a few things about it. The one major difference in this calendar, this year's calendar, is the end of the year. So what you'll notice at graduation is actually on a Friday, May 22nd. So after May 22nd, the students are done, and so that gets us out a little bit earlier. So that I wanted to point that out to you. Every month has a work day or a holiday. So there is a work day or holiday of some description in every single month. The first day of school is August 26th. If you'll notice in January, because this has come up for discussion in previous years, we do come back January 2nd, but it's a work day. It's a required work day. That's a Thursday, and that's exactly what it was like this year. And then that Friday, January 3rd, is an optional work day. So that mirrors what we had for this school year. This calendar is very, very similar to the one we have this year for the 18-19 year, and with very little difference except for the graduation at the end of the year is a little earlier. And and it's during the week, which we've not done in quite some time.
So are those still staggered,
Which days?
the graduations?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, yes, sir. So we still want to have the graduations just like we do now, morning, late morning, and then at 1 o'clock. just like we've
And
done.
on one day, and some districts have them different days and all that, and we've experimented with that over the years, but we'll be having them on one day staggered as we always have. That format seems to work best for all.
Without having it in front of me, what is our graduation date this year?
June
I was
1st.
thinking June 1st.
Thank you.
And that is, I believe, Memorial Day weekend next year.
So you'll be graduated on Friday and go straight to the beach.
I'm not gonna graduate. I might be there.
You'll be there, yes, sir.
Your favorite
So
grad?
it's, that was one of the options, one of the calendar options actually had graduation on Memorial Day. So this was one of the accommodations. That was not a very popular idea.
And this one was voted on by,
About all of the staff, all Lenore County Public School employees. So it was taken to each of the schools. This is this is how we do this every year. So every school has a calendar representative, and we come and we gather and we meet. We either meet here or we meet at the PD Center at Kinston High School. And the principals are invited. They don't always come. Mr. Sandeman was with us this year. We meet, we go over all of a multitude of different scenarios, calendar scenarios, and we talk through them as a district team. We make recommendations, we question, would we if we do this date here, that date here. And then once we get the drafts to where we're comfortable with them, the representative from the school, we call them calendar representative, takes them back to the school, and they work with the principal to present the calendar options to the staff. They might have a called staff meeting, or to be able to present it at a regular staff meeting, but they explain each of the drafts, and then the calendars are posted in a place where all the members of the faculty and staff can review them. So they're normally posted near mailboxes or somewhere in the office so that everyone can review them. And then there is a voting system in place. So we went back and did a second vote, if you all recall. The voting was very low the first time. It was less than half of our employees voted. And that we needed to make sure we had higher participation. So we asked that we have another vote, and the schools accommodated that. We had much better turnout, much higher turnout. This was during the second time when there was a real push to make sure everyone cast a ballot, or most everyone cast a ballot. This was the draft that was voted upon. And I wanted to bring it to you for approval.
any more questions for Mrs. Herring? I'll entertain a motion to approve the 2019-2020 calendar.
Motion to approve the 2019-20 instructional calendar as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hill, second by Mr. Mogan. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Herring. Now we'll recognize Mr. Williams again for our policy revisions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Presented at the last meeting for study with further action to be taken at this meeting are the NCSBA policy revisions, proposed policy revisions. These revisions are in response to recent legislative action. We're presenting them tonight for your action.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
And whoever did the summary sheet, thank you. That's very helpful. But 7, 8, 10. The evaluation of licensed employees.
Yes, sir.
Removes analysis of student work from student performance and growth data that may be used as part of the teacher evaluation. What is that saying?
Okay, the analysis of student work section was something that was added to the teacher evaluation process. It was added at the state level, and that was changed, and this is to reflect that change in legislation and guidance from the state level. That a teacher will be evaluated solely on what happens here at the district level through the traditional evaluation process, and in collaboration with his or her supervisor, classroom observations, and the observation being the primary instrument to drive that. And the other factors, like in the teacher evaluation process, we've had a standard 6 that's looked at how the students have done, and other factors have been brought into it. And it's a pretty big discussion, the teacher evaluation discussion. But what this is simply saying is that we'll simply look at the teacher evaluation instrument itself and what is observed and what is seen on the day of the observation. And then the other data that principals have in observing teachers will be used to, as student achievement data is and should be a factor in how your students are doing, but not dinging a teacher on that and not using that as a driving factor.
And I can probably add a little clarity. The ASW was put in place, that's the analysis of student work, and it was put in place as a measure for the teachers who didn't have a tested area, like art teachers, CTE teachers, PE teachers. And so they had to create these portfolios of student work, and then they had to be
there were many
vetted or graded.
There were many teachers who have viewed that as not reflective of what's actually happening in the classroom. They wanted to be judged on the basis of what is seen during the teaching and learning process, and that the portfolio that they would create, or this notebook that they would create, would be an outside representation of that. That it would, in essence, if you come to observe me and I'm teaching, and I've had to present something else to you, which is going to represent how my students are doing in absence of a state test to demonstrate that, then now the state is saying that that's not necessary, or I think the discussions were at the state level that it wasn't really a valid indicator at all of that. So it wasn't doing what it was intended to do, I guess, is the best and most fundamental way to put it.
But it's primarily dealing with the non-tested areas.
Right, right. And we had all of our exploratory teachers at the middle school and the high school trained in this, and it was a big roll-up, and it was a multi-year process. How many years, principals, how many years have we been working toward implementing that? We're in year now, it would be year 7, if you look at the training. So it's been a big roll-up and an implementation, and now we're saying that's not valid, but I think most of our folks would actually tell you that it's welcome news.
I move to approve the policy recommendation after I yield.
As I'm looking at the one that jumped out to me was in 7130, the elimination of lateral entry licensure.
Yeah, but that's the state again. That's the state again.
The data change.
No, the elimination of lateral entry.
What'd you say about it?
I said that's the state again.
Right, right, that's what I'm saying. So it's saying section A3 to reflect elimination of lateral entry licensure and the addition of new residency licensure category.
So they've just changed the name, so it's.
That's all it
like
is.
this. Yes, sir.
That's what I was
The
asking.
process has changed a little bit, and Ms. Heath can certainly speak to it better than I can, but we still have lateral entry teachers.
There has been some proposed legislation about lateral entry, addressing it as a concept and as a notion. But currently, that's a significant factor for districts like ours, and we certainly hope that lateral entry doesn't disappear as an option for us. And this is not that.
Right.
It's simply changing the terminology.
That's what I was asking, it's changing terminology. And you said, and a little bit of the,
residency is a slightly different, I don't, there are 3 different pathways. So there's more flexibility.
okay,
There are 3 different pathways that they can choose from.
okay.
It's just, it will no longer be called lateral entry, it's now called the residency program.
Right.
And there has to be an affiliation with a university and coursework ahead of time. So the timelines are a little bit different.
Okay.
And it's a
really good, and it does. Those three pathways will open up avenues for some individuals to be able to qualify that might not have been able to.
And there's also proposed legislation again that will, and we shouldn't go too far down the road of proposed legislation, but dealing with that very thing of further streamlining the lateral entry process with opening it wider to make it more available to people from more careers, specifically like retired engineers and other people from the world of business who might want to teach scientists, chemists, and things like that, who might want to teach upper tier science classes and math classes. So this right here is one of the hot issues for school systems, trying to recruit and retain the most highly qualified people we can, and this is one of those levers of change that we have, lateral entry.
Without any further discussion, I have a motion by Mr. Anderson to accept, and Mr. Hill is our second. All in favor of approving the policy provisions, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Now we'll move to Mrs. Herring with our out-of-state school field trips. I believe we have 3.
Yes, sir, we do. We have one from Frank Middle School. The band, 7th and 8th grade band and choir are asking permission to travel to Virginia, to Fredericksburg and Doswell on May 18th for a competition. And then South Moore has submitted 2 out-of-state field trip requests. Their National Honor Society, their students that are juniors and seniors are asking, respectfully asking to travel to Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, Virginia on May the 3rd. And the Project Lead the Way students who we talked about were highlighted in the E2 Summit. Those students would like permission to travel to San Francisco, California during spring break. They're going to visit the Golden Gate Bridge, the Marine Mammal Center, and the Exploratorium. I want to chaperone the one.
You are?
I would like to.
Oh, I thought you said you were.
I would like to go.
I think she was asking for a motion.
Say, did you get approval for that?
No, I didn't, so I guess I'm not going.
Motion to approve the out-of-state school field trip request as presented.
We have a motion by Mr. Bogan to approve the out-of-state school field trips. Do I have a second? Mr. Woods. Second by Mr. Woods. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Harry. And we have one more action item. That'll be our surplus item, Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The attached warmer is attached for your consideration to be deemed surplus. It's the warmer from Northwest Elementary School. If you do that, we'll make sure the proceeds go back to their department.
Move to approve that warmer as surplus.
I have a motion to approve by Mr. Smith.
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Hill. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you, gentlemen. Now we'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
I move that the Lenore County Board of Education go into closed session under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 to prevent disclosure of confidential personnel files, to consult with the board's attorney in order to preserve their attorney-client privilege, and to consider matters relating to initial employment of an individual employee.
We have a motion by Mr. Hill.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bogan. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. We're now in closed session. Moore County Board of Education is now back in open session. I will entertain a motion to approve the personnel report.
Move to approve the personnel report as presented with the addendum.
We have a motion to approve by Mr. Smith and a second by Mr. Davis. Any discussion? Without any discussion, I'll ask all in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you, gentlemen. Now we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Excuse me? Excuse me?
Could we talk about dates? Well, go ahead and adjourn.
That's a motion by Mr. Anderson, second by Mr. Bogan. All in favor to adjourn, please raise your right hand. Thank you, gentlemen.